Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayanti. Nashtaprayeshu Padreshu Tim Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Nashtakiri. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4, Vidura approaches Maitreya. Text number 21 onwards. Soham tad darshana viyogarti yutaha prabhu gamishya daitam tasya vadarayashram mangalam. My dear Vidura, now I am mad for want of the pleasure of seeing him, and just to mitigate this, I am now proceeding to Badrika Ashram in the Himalayas for association, as I have been instructed by him. So Uddhavji is thinking of his meeting with Krishna and with Maitreya, and he is now in separation, and he is saying, I cannot stay here, I have to go to Badrika Ashram. And in fact, Krishna told him to go to Badrika Ashram. A pure devotee of the Lord, of the standard of Uddhava, constantly associates with the Lord in a double perception of simultaneous separation and meeting. Pure devotee is not for a moment unengaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Execution of the Lord's service is the main occupation of the pure devotee. Uddhava's separation from the Lord was unbearable, and therefore he started to Badrika Ashram in obedience to the Lord's order, because the order of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical. As long as one is engaged in the execution of the order of the Lord, there is no factual separation from him. So there is no separation from him. If like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, chant the holy name. So if we chant the holy name, so there is no separation between us and Krishna and Mahaprabhu, because in holy name is not different from Krishna, and the order of Mahaprabhu is to chant. So when we follow the order, follow the instructions of the Lord properly, then we are associating. Or like when Prabhupada asked us to preach and go do book distribution, other activities, and when we are trying to follow his instructions and fulfill his request, then we are associating with Prabhupada. It's so simple. Yat Narayana Devo Narashcha Bhagwan Vishihi Mridu Tivram Tapo Dirgham Tepa Te Loka Bhavana. There in Badrika Ashram, the personality of Godhead in his incarnation as a sages, Nara and Narayan, has been undergoing great penance since time immemorial for the welfare of all amiable living entities. Badrika Ashram in the Himalayas, the abode of the Narayan sages, is a great place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. Even up to the present, hundreds and thousands of pious Hindus go to pay respects to the incarnation of Godhead Narayan. It appears that even 5,000 years ago, this holy place was being visited by such a holy being as Uddhava. And even at that time, the place was known to be very, very old. This particular pilgrimage site is very difficult to visit for ordinary men because of its difficult situation in the Himalayas, in a place which is covered by ice, or in fact covered by snow almost all year. A few months during the summer season, people can visit this place at great personal inconvenience. Well, these days, there's hardly any inconvenience because you can just take a car and go there. Okay, the route is little difficult, but not too much of inconvenience as in the previous days when people had to walk all the way. There are 4 dham or kingdoms of God which represent the planets of the spiritual sky, which consists of the Brahm Jyoti and the Vaikunthas. These are Badrikashram, Rameshwaram, Jagannath Puri, and Dwarka. Faithful Hindus still visit all these holy places for perfection of spiritual realization, following in the footsteps of devotees like Uddhava. So Badrika Ashram is where Nar-Narayan sages are there sitting and doing tapasya. Rameshwaram, we all know Lord Ram crossed over to Lanka. Jagannath Puri, where Lord Jagannath is, and Dwarka, where Dwarkadhish, so Krishna lived there for so many years. So they are pretty much east, west, north, south of India. So these are four dham. Of course, Jagannath Puri, these are four dham and very important, but Jagannath Puri is specifically important in Kali Yuga because that is a place for Kali Yuga. Jagannath Ji is there, bestowing his mercy on all the sinful people of Kali Yuga and asking all of us to come there. Text 23. Shri Shukavacha Itti Uddhavad Upakarnaya Suhridam Dursaham Vadam Jnani Nashmayat Shakta Shokam Utpatatam Buddha. Sri Shukdev Goswami said, after hearing from Uddhava all about the annihilation of his friends and relatives, the learned Vidura pacified his overwhelming bereavement by dint of his transcendental knowledge. Vidura was informed that the result of the battle of Kurukshetra was the annihilation of his friends and relatives, as well as the destruction of the Yadu dynasty, and also the passing away of the Lord. All these hurled him into bereavement for the time being, but because he was highly advanced in transcendental knowledge, he was quite competent to pacify himself by enlightenment. As it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, due to a long association with bodily relationships, bereavement on account of the annihilation of friends and relatives is not at all astonishing. But one has to learn the art of subduing such bereavement with higher transcendental knowledge. So knowledge is very important, especially at the time of bereavement or at the time of something untoward happens in our life which we don't like. Because at the time of enjoyment, or at the time of when the times are good, there's, of course, knowledge helps at that time also, because then we don't get too elated or get out of the control of thinking because of me I'm getting all the happiness. But especially at the time of suffering, distress, the knowledge really helps. The transcendental knowledge really helps. The talks between Uddhava and Vidura on the topic of Krishna began at sunset, and Vidura was now further advanced in knowledge due to his association with Uddhava. So Uddhava, being a devotee of such a high caliber, he was personal associate of the Lord, and Lord gave him instructions to stay back when Lord was leaving, and told him to give this transcendental knowledge to Vidura. And then he said, you go to Badrika Ashram. So association with devotee of that caliber, that kind, can really change one's heart. Of course, Vidurji is also a very high level of devotee, very advanced. Krishna himself went to his place for prasadam. But still, Vidura always considered himself, I'm not that advanced. So by the association of Uddhavji, who was really personally associate of the Lord, Vidurji also Prabhupada said, Vidura was now further advanced in knowledge due to his association with Uddhava. So this is the benefit of associating with devotees. That one's heart gets transformed, one gets more knowledge, one gets more realization, one gets more appreciation for devotees, one gets more connected with Krishna. That is a real advantage of association. And this is what we should look after in the association. Satam Mahabhagavatam Brajantam Kora Vrishabha Vishrambadabhyadhapetam Mukhyam Krishna Parigriham. While Uddhava, the chief and most confidential amongst the devotees of the Lord, was going away, Vidura in affection and confidence cautioned him Vidura was much older than Uddhava by family relationship. Uddhava was a contemporary brother of Krishna's, while Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father Vasudeva. But although junior by age, Uddhava was much advanced in the devotion service of the Lord, and therefore he is described heaven as the chief amongst the devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about this, and thus he addressed Uddhava in that higher category. That is a way of courteous dealings between two devotees. So it's not by the age one becomes advanced. It's by the realizations, by surrender, one becomes advanced. So Uddhavji was younger to Vidura in that sense. But Viduraji is very humbly asking him, questioning him, and trying to get as much association as possible. Text 25. Viduruvacha jnanam param svatmaraha prakasham yadaha yogeshwar ishwaraste vaktum bhavanno arhati yadhi vishnu bhritya svabhrityartha kritascharanti. Vidura said, O Uddhav, because the servants of Vishnu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord himself. So Vidurji is hoping that he can stop Uddhav for more and get some more knowledge, get some more association. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of the society. Very nice statement by Prabhupada. They have no interest in human society other than to enlighten it in transcendental knowledge. They are interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Supreme Lord. The activities in that transcendental relationship and the ultimate goal of human life. So they are interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Lord, that is Sambandha. The activities in that transcendental relationship means the devotion service, that is Abhideya, and the ultimate goal of human life, that is Prayojan. This is the subject matter of all the scriptures actually. That is a real knowledge which can help society achieve the real aim of human welfare. Knowledge in the matter of bodily necessities of eating, sleeping, mating, and faring, transformed into various branches of advancement of knowledge, is all temporary. So whatever technical knowledge that we take these days, whatever other knowledge, maybe economics or maybe biology or rocket science or whatever, it's all concerned with eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. There's nothing transcendental in that. But the devotees of the Lord, they want to enlighten the human society in transcendental knowledge. That's why they are doing the most important welfare work. That's why they're considered the most munificent being most merciful. In fact, at one place I read that the Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord, have no business remaining in this material world. The only reason they remain here is to enlighten others and to bring others on the path of bhakti. Otherwise, they might as well go back to the spiritual world to be with the Lord. A living being is not the material body, but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being. And thus, revival of his self-knowledge is essential. Without this knowledge, the human life is baffled. The servants of the Lord Vishnu are entrusted with this responsible work, and so they wander over the earth and to all of the planets in the universe. Thus, the knowledge which is received by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed to human society, especially to persons like Vidura who are highly advanced in the devotion service of the Lord. So Uddhavji had received wonderful knowledge from the Lord, which is Actually, it is written in a book called Uddhava. And Vidurji wanted to know more about that knowledge. Real transcendental knowledge descends in disciplic succession from the Lord to Uddhava, from Uddhava to Vidura, and so on. Such supreme transcendental knowledge is not possible to achieve by the process of imperfect speculation as performed by the so-called learned, mundane wranglers. Vidura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as Paramam Stitim, in which the Lord is known by his transcendental pastimes. Although Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious to become a servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. This formula of transcendental disciplic succession is taught by Lord Chaitanya also. Lord Chaitanya advises that one receives transcendental knowledge from anyone, whether a Brahman, a Shudra, householder, or sannyasi, provided that person is factually conversant with the science of Krishna. A person who knows the science of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. So this is what Chaitanya Charitamrita says actually. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kene Nai. Jai Krishna Tattvaveta Sai Guru Hai. So Guru doesn't mean he has to be Brahman or sannyasi or anybody else like that. It doesn't matter. He could be in any varnashram system. As long as he knows the science of Krishna, then he is factually bona fide spiritual master. And science of Krishna also means he knows and he is practicing it as well. And he is engaging his followers in that science, in that service of Krishna. Text 26. Uddhava vacha nanu te tattva samradhya rishikosharvavantike sakshat bhagavata dishto marte lokam jihasata. Sri Uddhav said, you may take lessons from the great learned sage Maitreya, who's nearby and who's worshipable for reception of transcendental knowledge. He was directly instructed by the personality of Godhead while he was about to quit this mortal world. And see this humility of Uddhavji. He's saying, you may take this knowledge from Maitreya Rishi. Why? Uddhavji is thinking, I am younger to Vidura, but Maitreya Rishi is about the same age as Vidura. So he is saying, I'm not qualified to give this knowledge to Vidura. Although one may be well versed in the transcendental science, one should be careful about the offense of Maryada Vyatikrama, or impertinently surpassing a greater personality. One should be careful about the offense of Maryada Vyatikrama. Okay, what is that? According to scriptural injunction, one should be very careful of transgressing the law of Maryada Vyatikrama, because by so doing one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame, and piety, and the blessings of all the world. To be well versed in the transcendental science necessitates awareness of the techniques of spiritual science. Uddhava, being well aware of all these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to receive transcendental knowledge. Although Maitreya Rishi was not there when Vidurji approached Uddhava, he was nearby. But still Uddhava asked Vidura to go to Maitreya Rishi to get the knowledge, to show as a sign of respect for Maitreya Rishi. So he didn't want to commit this offense of Maryada Vyatikaram. Maryada Vyatikaram, actually what it means is, in presence of somebody who's senior, and who's senior means senior in realization, knowledge, and that could be seniority in age or position, one starts showing off his own knowledge or his own importance. So means we are not following the proper etiquettes. Uddhava, being well aware of these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to receive transcendental knowledge. Vidura wanted to accept Uddhava as a spiritual master, but Uddhava did not accept the post because Vidura was as old as Uddhava's father, and therefore Uddhava could not accept him as his disciple, especially when Maitreya was present nearby. The rule is that in the presence of higher authority, one should not be very eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well versed. So means one has to give the higher personality a chance. Of course, we can say that when Shukdev Goswami came in that assembly and Maharaj Parikshit had asked a question, but in that assembly, Narad Muni, Ved Vyas, all the great sages, so many other senior people were there, but still Shukdev Goswami was given the highest position of speaking. But that was decided by everybody. Shukdev Goswami didn't start speaking on his own. It was decided by everybody that Shukdev Goswami should speak. Then he started speaking. It wasn't like Shukdev Goswami, Ved Vyas, Narad Muni, everybody was standing there and Parikshit Maharaj asked question to the sages, and Shukdev Goswami said, no, you all stop. I know more than you, and I will answer. That would have been an offense. Since both Uddhava and Maitreya were directly instructed by the Lord, both had the authority to become the spiritual master of Vidura or anyone else. But Maitreya, being elderly, had the first claim to becoming the spiritual master, especially for Vidura, who was much older than Uddhava. One should not be eager to become a spiritual master cheaply for the sake of profit and fame, but should become a spiritual master only for the service of the Lord. The Lord never tolerates the impertinence of Maryada Vyatikram. One should never pass over the honor due to an elderly spiritual master in the interest of one's own personal gain and fame. Impertinence on the part of the pseudo-spiritual master is very risky to progressive spiritual realization. So of course, this is one of the offenses, but it's very serious offense. But there's so many other offenses one can commit, and one has to be very, very careful of those offenses. So anyway, we'll stop here. See if anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one question to Radha Prabhuji. Tomorrow is Janmashtami at 12 midnight. So, is there any marathon tomorrow for chanting?
You all can decide because I'll be busy here celebrating Janmashtami.
We can skip for Prabhuji.
What's that?